Long ago, in the village of Nduma, surrounded by whispering baobab trees and golden cassava fields, there lived a young girl named Noria. Noria was known across every path and stream as the finest dancer Nduma had ever seen. Her steps were like falling rain, soft and rhythmic, and her smile lit up the darkest corners of the village. But Noria's life, though filled with grace, carried sorrow like a shadow. She lived with her mother and her father, Olamo. Olamo was a farmer with rough hands and a restless heart. Though his fields were poor and dry, his hunger for wealth was endless. He loved coin more than kin, and would lie, cheat or steal just to feel the cold clink of money in his hand. What little he earned from the land, he lost to dice and drink. At night, he wandered home empty, anger simmering in his eyes. When the coins ran out, his fists often found their way to Noria's mother. Noria's mother, Sanaya, sold roasted plantains at the village market. From dawn till dusk, she worked under the sun's glare, scraping enough to feed her family. Noria helped whenever she could, carrying baskets and singing softly as they walked. But her true joy was dancing. Whenever music played, be it the flute of the hunters or the drumbeat of a passing festival, Noria's feet would move like magic. The whole village adored her. "Look," they'd whisper, "there goes Noria, the soul of Nduma." Among her many friends, one stood out, Jabo, a spirited boy with a kind heart and a wide grin. Jabo cheered the loudest whenever Noria danced, clapping his hands and calling, "Fly, Noria, fly." Life in Nduma was simple. People farmed, fetched water, and gathered under moonlight to share tales. But Noria's days were a storm of joy and pain. Her love for dance lit up her world, yet her father's rage cast long shadows. She dreamed often of a life where she could twirl and leap without fear, where her father's hunger wouldn't steal her smile. One day, Olamo sat with his drinking companions beneath a mango tree. He overheard them speak of a grand dance contest in the neighboring village of Itaba. The winner, they said, would walk away with a bag heavy with silver cowries. Olamo's eyes gleamed. Silver! He knew Noria would win. She was the best. He had never cared much for her dancing. It was, to him, nothing more than child's play. But now he saw coins. "Pack your things," he barked the next morning. "We travel to Itaba." Noria blinked. In surprise, her father had never shown interest in her dance. Still, her heart fluttered with excitement. A real contest, a chance to shine. Silently, Jabo followed them through the tall grasses, hiding behind bushes. He didn't trust Olamo and wanted to keep Noria safe. When they reached Itaba, villagers murmured in awe. "Isn't that Noria from Nduma, the girl who dances like the wind?" Noria felt her knees tremble but took a deep breath. When her turn came, she danced like the river at dawn, graceful, alive, unstoppable. The crowd roared, "Noria! Noria!" And she won. A heavy bag of silver cowries was placed in her hands. Before she could smile, Olamo snatched it. Not a word of thanks, not a single look. Jabo, watching from the crowd, felt his heart break. He walked up to her after the crowd dispersed. "You were brighter than the stars," he whispered. "Here, I picked up a few coins that fell during your dance. Keep them." Noria smiled faintly. Her heart was heavy. Back home, she told her mother what happened. Sanaya hugged her tightly. "You danced with spirit, my child. That is what matters." That night, Noria lay staring at the thatched ceiling, happiness and sorrow wrestling in her chest. Her father only saw the coins, not the girl. From that day on, Olamo became obsessed. Every festival, every gathering, he dragged Noria to perform. "You will dance and we will grow rich," he muttered. Noria danced, and she won, always. The crowds cheered, the drums pounded, but each time Olamo took the prize. Not once did he say, "Well done." He gambled it all away. Noria's heart grew heavier with every beat of the drum. She wished her father would see her, the real her, not just a way to fill his pockets. Jabbo noticed her sadness. "Don't let his greed steal your fire," he said softly, but the fire flickered. Her friends started to drift away. "She's the gambler's daughter," they whispered. Some sneered. "Her father sees only money." Loneliness crept in like morning. Fog. Only Jabbo remained. He never left her side. One evening, as the crickets sang, Sanaya sat beside her daughter. "My Noria," she asked gently, "why has your smile faded?" And Noria told her everything. Sanaya sighed, her arms wrapping around the girl. "You are a gift, a light. One day things will change," Noria tried to believe. But the contests kept coming. She danced, she won, and her father took. Still she danced, for herself, for the joy of it, for the crowd's laughter, for the way the earth moved beneath her feet. She clung to the hope that one day Olamo would see her not as a purse, but as his daughter. Then came the Festival of Moons, the grandest event in Nduma. A time of drumming, feasting, and matchmaking. Girls wore beads and bright wrappers, and fathers picked suitors who came bearing gifts. Olamo saw yet another chance for gold. "If anyone wishes to marry my daughter," he bellowed before the crowd, "they must bring 5 sacks of silver cowries and 2 bags of golden nuggets." Gasps rose. Noria stood in her festival dress, her hair adorned with hibiscus. She danced beautifully, but her spirit trembled. Her father's price was too high. Most young men backed away, shaking their heads. Noria's eyes searched the crowd. They found Jabbo, but Jabbo had nothing. He stood silently, knowing he could never match that demand. Just then a hush swept over the people. Bokuru, the richest and oldest man in the land, stepped forward. He had silver. He had gold. He also had 3 wives and 12 children, Noria's. Heart dropped like a stone in a deep well. She looked to Jabbo. His eyes were wet. He sat on the earth and wept. She turned and fled, tears streaming. "Mama!" she cried, bursting into their home. Sanaya held her tight. Outside, Olamo grinned ear to ear. "Bokuru! She is yours!" he shouted, grabbing the wealth with greedy hands. He drank that night, boasting of his fortune. Inside, Noria lay awake, her heart shattered. She knew what tomorrow would bring, a wedding she didn't want, a life she hadn't chosen. She had made up her mind. She was going to run away. In the quiet of the morning, she packed her small bag, hoping to leave the village before anyone noticed. But just as she opened the door, the deep beat of village drums echoed through the air. Boom, boom, boom. It was the wedding drum. Noria's heart dropped. Her legs felt weak. She sat on the floor and cried, feeling like a bird trapped in a cage. Then Olamo stormed into the house. "Why are you still here?" he shouted. "Get up, Bokuru is waiting." He grabbed Noria's arm and dragged her out. She looked back one last time at her mother, tears running down her face. Sanaya stood still, helpless. The villagers watched as Olamo marched Noria to Bokuru's home. Their eyes were filled with pity. Everyone knew she didn't want this marriage, but no one could stop it. At Bokuru's compound, Olamo pushed Noria forward. "Here's your new wife," he said with pride. Bokuru nodded and led Noria inside. The house was big, with many rooms filled with his wives and children. Noria felt like a stranger. The other women looked at her with curiosity and sympathy. She sat in silence, tears filling her eyes. She missed Jabbo. She missed the old days. She cried through the day, unable to eat or rest. Night came, and she stayed in her room, scared and lonely. The wives tried to comfort her, but Noria felt more alone than ever. She thought of Jabbo and their joyful moments. Her heart ached. Then, knock, knock, someone was at the door. Noria wiped her face and slowly opened it. To her shock, Jabbo stood there, and beside him was Bokuru. "Noria," Bokuru said softly. "Please come. We need to talk." She opened the door, confused but hopeful. Bakuru sat with them and took a deep breath. "There's something you must know," he said. "Jabo is my only real son." Noria blinked. "But you have many children." "Yes," Bakuru replied, "but none of them are mine by blood. My wives were all pregnant before they came to me. I recently found out I cannot have children." "Jabo is the only one truly mine." Noria turned to Jabo, her mouth open. Jabo nodded. "It's true. I just learned it too. Bakuru is my father." Bakuru smiled gently. "When I discovered the truth, I wanted to give my son a good life. I saw how deeply he loves you, Noria. That's why I chose you, not for me, but for him." Tears filled Noria's eyes. A wave of relief and joy washed over her. "This is a blessing I didn't expect," she whispered. Jabo held her hands. "I've always loved you. Now we can be together, with my father's blessing." Noria threw her arms around him. "I'll never leave you," she promised. Bakuru smiled. "You both deserve happiness. I'll support you in every way I can." Word spread fast through Nduma. People were stunned. They had expected Noria to marry Bakuru, but instead she would be with Jabo, her true love. The village erupted with joy. There was dancing, singing, and laughter all around. Noria felt like her heart was flying. She had gone through pain, but now a new beginning was here. When Olamo heard what happened, his joy turned to sorrow. He had lost. He realized how badly he had treated his daughter. Shame and guilt filled him. He packed a small bag and left Nduma quietly. His friends turned their backs on him. "You are a foolish man," they said. "You chose money over your own child." Olamo walked away with no home, no love, and no one by his side. The weight of his choices hung heavy. Back in the village, Noria and Jabo started their new life together. The villagers cheered for them. Bakuru stood proudly beside his son. Noria kept dancing. Jabo was always there to clap and cheer. Their love became a legend in Nduma. Old women told their tale to children. At night, "Remember Noria," they said. "Remember her courage." Noria and Jabo lived a life full of love and laughter. They faced every challenge side by side. Their bond grew stronger with each day, and so the tale of Noria, the dancer of Nduma, and Jabo, her faithful friend and love, became a story passed down through time, a story of love, hope, and the strength to follow your heart. And to you, dear listener, may this story warm your spirit. Don't forget to like, share, and follow for more tales like this one.